Of the 3 fantasies I'm gonna talk about today, one became a new favorite, so let's talk about it. And we're gonna talk about it first, and it's Black Heat by Bex Hogan. She wrote the Viper trilogy. I know I read the first one, but I don't remember if I read the second one or not, but I never finished the trilogy. So that's the trilogy or the books she's most known for. And I was quite surprised because this one only has like 250 reviews and it deserves so much more. And it came out in 2023. So yeah, to me it deserves so much more reviews and praise. So it's a fantasy, and in this one you follow 3 different girls, women. Their age are never really specified, but to me they felt like around 18, 20. And you follow 3 different women. You have Marzal, she's an exiled princess who's coming back to the court. You follow Rain, who's a very talented blacksmith, but she's a little bit on the run. I will talk about that after. And it's also about Elena, and Elena is a midwife. She has been raised by a midwife, and now she learned how to be a midwife again. So yeah, the story is about those 3 women that don't know each other at the beginning of the story, and you follow each of their point of views and the way war can affect women in a fantasy world, but the rage they can also have because of that. So the war in this country is because of the king. Oh shit! It's because of the king, who's Marcel's father. So when she comes back to the court, she was away most of her life at a convent, but now she is back in court because she is of marrying age, and her father wants to use her as a political asset with the marriage. So yeah, she's back in court, and so Marcel decides also to spy on the king because he's the cause of all the trouble in the kingdom and the neighboring kingdoms. So she decides to spy on him since now she's at court. So each night she goes on tunnels between the walls and she goes spy on him, and she writes letters to somebody to tell them about the plans of the king for the war. You also follow Rain, so she's a blacksmith and she's very talented. But the thing is, there was a prophecy that tell that the king will be defeated with the blade of blood. So now he wants every blacksmith to be killed. Just like that, because he's afraid of the blade of blood being made. But what he doesn't know is that Rain already did a blade of blood. A few years ago she made it for her father, who was killed in a mission, and since he has been killed, the blade has been missing, so she doesn't know where it is, but she already made one. But instead of killing her, since she's a blacksmith, they decide to use her and say, oh, since you can make blade, you can make the soldier of the king tell her that, oh, you can make us a blade of blood, like that the king will have it and nobody else will be able to kill him. But she can make other ones, but well. And Elena is the midwife, and also in the same prophecy that said that the king will be killed with the blade of blood, it said that it would be by a child born during a certain moon, of a moon cycle. And so then he decides to say that, yeah, you can kill every child, every baby who has been born recently, kill all of them in the kingdom, in the neighboring kingdoms. So as you can imagine, it's a very dark story, but it's not too gruesome or violent. It's in the page and you learn about what has been done and who has been killed, but it's not like too much in your face. So for example, when soldiers come to Elena's village to kill the children and the babies, the midwife she was apprenticed to decides to rally every women, children, babies to the church, because they say, oh yeah, it's in the church, nobody will come kill us because we're in a church, in the place of their god in the story. Which is not true. They kill absolutely everybody. Even the midwife she was apprenticed to is killed. So you see a lot of grief, you see a lot of rage. It's feminine rage, feminist rage. And at some point their stories kind of combine. Their goal, without meeting each other, is to kill the king, one way or another, and so you follow them on their mission. And so towards the end of the book you see them meet each other, not at the same time, and for sometimes like quite surprising reasons. You don't expect them to meet like this, so it was quite nice to see something unexpected in a fantasy book. So yeah, their mission is to kill the king, so you follow them, you follow their path, you follow their journey, you see them meet new people, and you see sometimes that their journey change a little bit, and you're like, no! Like, you feel so much for the characters and for their missions, and you just want them to succeed. You want the story won't have... But I was gonna say... I wasn't hoping for a happy ending for this story, but yes, I was hoping for a happy ending for all three of them. But I think I'm gonna need to have some words with the author, because even just thinking about it now, I have tears in my eyes. The end is completely... It has destroyed me. Because there's a plot twist at the end, and you're like, okay. And you had so much hope for those two characters. You had so much hope for the characters, and now the plot twist is like a knife to the heart, and you're like, okay. So yeah, it was a very good story. I'm already excited to reread it, knowing how the story ends. I'm very excited, yeah, to see the characters again, to be in their head, and even with the plot twist, you understand each character's motivation. That doesn't excuse everything they do, but you understand them, and yeah, it was a very strong story for me. So I really recommend it. It should have more readers, it should be more popular, but yeah, I really recommend this one. I didn't feel the same things for the next two books I'm gonna talk about, but I'm still gonna talk about them. So the next one is Servants of Earth by Sarah Hawley. I tried to read one of her paranormal romance, like The Vampire Guides to Seduce a Werewolf or something like that. I didn't like the way the characters were portrayed and just their personalities. I didn't like that, so I never finished this book. But I was still interested to read this one because this one is categorized as a romantasy or fantasy. I have a hard time saying it's a romantasy because to me the romance aspect is very lacking. But yeah, I'm going too fast like usual. So in this one you follow Kenna, who's kind of the outcast of the small village, who's at the border of like fairyland, and she's the outcast, and she likes to go to the bogs and like collect trinkets she can find in the water. And also every 6 years in this town there's like not sacrifice being made to the fae, but some girls are chosen to be sent to the Feyland, but they have to cross the bogs, they have to cross forests and just go a long way to go to the Feyland. And it's seen as kind of an honor, but Kenna doesn't see it that way. She's not selected to be one of the sacrifice, but her best friend is, and the only person she has left in the world is her best friend. So she decides to follow the group of girls who has been sent to the Feyland to protect them, since she knows the bogs so well because she used to go there to go fish, trinkets, not real fish. But something happens and she's like the only survivor of the group of girls, even if she wasn't chosen. So now she's in the Feyland, and she was chosen as the servant of the House of Earth, because in the Feyland when you are born you get some powers, but you fully get them when you have passed some trials. I think it's around when they are 25. Kenna is 25 in the story also. But yeah, the Fae young adults or just newly adults need to pass some trials to be deemed worthy of having their full powers. And if it's decided that they are not worthy, either they die or they just become powerless completely, which is being an outcast in the Fae world also. Now Kenna is the servant of Lara, who is the heir of the House of Earth. She will help Lara pass the trials, because Lara is somebody very, not even timid, but she doesn't know anything, she doesn't do anything, she's not brave, she has nothing going for her. And I felt like at some points it was a bit too much, since the Fey world is quite a brutal world, so you need to grow a backbone at some point. But since Lara can do anything, Kenna is now tasked to spy on the different house to know which trial it's gonna be, because each house is gonna make one trial. So there's a house of earth, house of fire, house of void, stuff like that. So one house, one trial. So Kenna is tasked to be a spy for the House of Earth, but she also goes one step further, where she helped Lara during the trials. For example, during the trial of House of Void, if I remember correctly, that's the name of the house. But for example, during this trial, they're like in the labyrinth, and it's completely dark. So Kenna goes from like a very small door. She joins Lara, and they both go through the labyrinth to get out. So yes, for each trial, Kenna helps Lara. She also is trying to find some way to escape back to her village, but since she's endangered to the Feyland, she doesn't know if it's gonna be possible. There's also not a love triangle, but there's like a romance, but you could see there was a possibility with another person. And to me, it was like a romance a la Akuta, you know. The first book, you're like, yeah, she's gonna be with this one. And probably in the next book, she's gonna be with the other guy. Spoiler! Yeah, that's basically the story, like trials, helping somebody, and the Fae. I had a few problems with this book. The first one being, like I said previously, Kenna is supposed to be 25, but to me she acted more like somebody who is 16. She read very young. Even with the romance, it was quite jarring because there was a few sex scenes, but since she was reading so young, it was very weird to read about sex scenes between two person, and even the romance in itself to me was very lacking. I felt nothing between the two of them, and also with the guy, since we met him at the beginning of the book, I felt very uneasy when I was reading scenes with him in it, and I didn't trust him. So even if they fell in love, I was like, I don't trust you, I don't trust your motivations, I feel like you're hiding something. So yeah, I didn't feel, I wasn't convinced by the romance, I wasn't convinced by her age. And also the last thing I was having a bit of a problem with was, it's also supposed to be a very dark world, but everything felt too easy for Kenna. So for example, in this kingdom you have a brothels, and if you're a human, when you come to the Feyland, your tongue is cut, but you can only keep it when you are in the brothels, because they have a use for it. It's written like that in the book, I'm not saying it like that. But when you stop working at the brothel, the next day your tongue is being cut. So you can see it's quite brutal, especially towards women and especially towards human. So Kenna is both of them. But to me it was too easy. For example, she didn't really had a lot to do in like the servant aspect of the story. She didn't serve a lot, Lara, but just towards the trials, but during the day, not really. She could go around the houses, no problem. Nobody was being mean to her or just violent towards her. Not that I'm asking for them to be like that towards her, but there was like discrepancies between the two, like the dark towards women and the easiness towards Kenna. Also, when she spied, it was very easy for her to spy. It was like everybody was telling everything, not in front of her, but it was like, it felt like every wall was very thin, or every place had like a secret space she could open, so she could see something. So yeah, everything felt very easy for her. So that's why also it read very YA, because you didn't feel a lot of stakes into this story. And the ending to me was quite predictable. It's a series, I don't know if it's a trilogy, but I won't continue it, but you could expect this ending. Like there's a few plot twists, but you did expect every one of them. Just it's not a plot twist, but like a reveal at the end. I was like, that's quite clever, but that's the only thing. So yeah, I wasn't very convinced by this story. Do I recommend it? Maybe. Try for yourself. Yeah, maybe. And the last book I'm gonna talk about is a very pretty book, and it's The Rose Bargain by Sasha Peyton Smith. I got this one on Amazon. I don't think it's like a very special edition since you can have it pretty easily. But yeah, you have foiled, you have this, and on the hardcover you have this. And I have to say, I really like the texture of the book. It's not like cloth, it's very matte, and it was very nice to hold. It's a very weird thing to say, but I really like that. So in this one you follow Ivy. She is in London. It's a fantasy world, but taking place in our world. So London has like fae, and the queen is a fae. She came to the country 400 years ago. Each year when girls make their season debut, like with aristocracy, they have to meet the queen and they can make a bargain with the queen. You can ask something, but you will lose something. So for example, in this book somebody asked for better teeth, but since she had that, she lost all her nails. So yeah, that's the kind of bargain you can expect in this book. Since they are girls, they're expecting to marry rich for the reputation of their family. So it's a lot of times it's a bargain with their appearance. So yeah, that's the bargain part of this story. So Ivy, it's her season debut, and she's gonna meet the queen. But plot twist, this year one of the prince wants to be married, so girls can put their name on the list of people willing to be married to him, because if you put your name on the list, that means that if he doesn't choose you, you won't be able to ever marry. You're gonna be a spinster even before having debuted in your season, which is something I didn't really understand why you couldn't marry if he didn't choose you. It was just like that, and everybody was like, okay, yeah, that even if I don't get married, I just won't have the possibility to be married to a prince. So yeah, I'm gonna put my name on the list, and everybody just accepted that, and I was like, okay. But Ivy is in a situation where sister was missing for a few months, so the reputation of her family was quite tarnished. So she's like, I have nothing to lose, so I'm gonna put my name on the list, and I'm gonna try to marry the prince, so my family will have a better reputation and I can be married to a prince. And also Ivy wants to find out why her sister was missing, because she doesn't have any memory of the time she was away. And she also wants to find out what was the bargain that her sister, Lydia, I should have said her name, what Lydia made as a bargain, because she doesn't remember that either. So when it's time for Ivy to do her bargain with the queen, she asked to know what her sister's bargain was, but the queen isn't able to answer her. So Ivy decides to not make a bargain, and she's like one of the only ones of her year to not do that. So the story kind of follow the competition to win the prince's heart and hand in marriage. But you also have, again, like with the last book, sometimes it was dark, sometimes it read pretty young, and you're like, which way is it? Because for the prince, it's like, it's a fake prince, I should have said that. For the prince, it's like, oh yeah, some competition, or just some, the first activity they do is like go around a maple, you know, with the ribbons, and they have to turn around the maple. So that's quite light in itself. But then you have the queen who decides to put them again in a labyrinth. But this labyrinth is very mean towards the girls inside it. So the queen decides to make them pass some trials, but just for her amusement, because the girls are like magically forbidden to talk about what the queen is making them go through. So yeah, it was just for her amusement. It was like dark, light, and you're like, I don't know which way to go. So yeah, I couldn't really be invested in the story because of that, but also because of other things. So like I said, the Ivy read pretty young, even younger than she was. I don't remember if they say, so she's either 16 or 18. And there's also a subplot where Ivy and the other prince, Prince Emmett, team up. He's a human prince, is the son of the current king, but since the queen is a fae, she can live a long time, so every time the king dies, she just remarries somebody, and so yeah, Prince Emmett is the human prince, but he doesn't have any blood link to the fae world. But Emmett and Ivy team up to try to break this kind of curse with the bargains, because they realize that it just corrupted the country, and it only had benefits to the queen in the long run because she can manipulate everybody. So with Ivy and Emmett, they try to find a way to break this kind of curse. So yeah, that's the subplot, and again, kind of a love triangle, but here you can clearly see which one she's gonna choose. I have to say, and it's my fault, I didn't realize that it was a duology. When I was on Goodreads, you can see that beneath the cover, it's like the Rose Bargain Chronicles or something like that, but it's not written like #1, and when you click on it, no other book is announced. So I was like, oh, it's a standalone, that's cool. I should have read a little bit just underneath because at the top of the synopsis it says that it's a duology, but I only realized that when we were 30 pages into the end. I was like, there's so much still to figure out, so much to understand and to resolve, and then I realized, oh, it's a duology, okay. So that's my bad, but at the end I was like, I don't understand why. Either the ending is gonna be very, very rushed, or it's not the ending, and it's not the ending, but that's my fault. And to be honest, this could have been a standalone. New plot points were added at the end, maybe in the last 3 chapters, so it could have been a standalone, and maybe like another connected standalone could have happened. But yeah, I didn't like where the story was going with the new plot point added, so I'm not gonna finish the duology. I would recommend this one if you like to read YA. It's compared to the selection. I only read the first one in this series, but a few years ago, but I could see the resemblance, so if you like the selection, maybe you will like this one. But yeah, it was not really a book for me, but I still recommend it if it's your thing. Even if 2/3 of the book I've just talked to you about was just okay to me, since this one was a big win, to me everything is alright. So I'm gonna keep this one on my shelves. I'm gonna unhaul these 2, and I already sold this one on Vinted, so I need to send it. But yeah, that's the end of the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!